morning, everybody. I hope you're having a good morning. It is a cool one here in Indy. I woke up this morning and there are frost all over my peonies, so I don't know if that bodes well for some of the seeds that I planted. So here's hoping that when the sun comes out, which it is, gradually this morning, that it warms them and that some of them make it. Although I find that plants are pretty tough. So fingers crossed. The poem that I have for you this morning is another love poem, and it's a poem that I wrote for a dear, dear friend of mine after she got married, and she sort of told me about it, and I had this idea for this poem almost immediately, and I've known this friend of mine for years and years, and coincidentally, she and I actually had a chance to talk last night for the first time in a while, and it's probably somewhat cliche to say so, or at least I suppose other people have said this in the past, but it's amazing when you've known someone for so long, even if you don't speak to them for an extended period of time, through no fault of anyone's, just because life is a real bear sometimes, and you get on the phone with them or you see them, and it's like you could be sitting in, you know, ninth grade French class all over again. It's like you pick right up where you left off, and I think that's the cool thing about sort of childhood friendships, and also how you know that a friendship is going to sort of withstand that time, is when you can sort of pick back up where you left off, and that's how I feel about this friend of mine. So this poem is for her, and it is entitled On the Occasion of Your Marriage. Your letter arrived last winter, crisp and cold at the edge, the weight of your message swelling the envelope. Your fiancé wakes most nights screaming, the pain pulling his body away from you in the dark. It is his torment, chronic and bright, that rushes your hand across the blank page, smooth script sprawling as you write of a quick ceremony on your lunch break, so he will be yours to care for. You know loneliness, an only child staring down a mother's broken mind and a father's broken back, but I see you in the courthouse. Your hands clasp his promise. I will stay with you. So that's my poem on the occasion of your marriage, for my dear, dear friend. And I was thinking about this this morning when I was reading through this poem. I write a lot about other people sort of through the lens of my own experience, which is nothing fancy because that's what every writer in the universe does, basically. But it's an interesting exercise to write about people that you know, because it's inevitably the case that at some point they may read it, and you know, it's one moment in time, or one perception, or one, your projection of how you see them, but of course it's not all that they are, because people are complicated, and as Whitman said, people too, right? So it's interesting to do that, and a little bit of a gamble, every time I do, and I do it every time I write something. I'm aware of the fact that my perception may not match up with how people see themselves, and oftentimes it doesn't. So I think that in this case, this is all to say that it's sort of come to my attention with this particular poem, that this view or this perception that I have of my friend, in her mind, was sort of accurate at this point in time, and that's I that's very comforting to me, because at the end of the day, when you write something, it's your point of view, and your point of view is what you have to give, but it's certainly not necessarily the only point of view, and so it is always sort of a gamble, how it's going to be received, and so I'm very lucky in the people in my life, because they seem to receive it well. So I thank them for that, and I thank this particular friend for that. 'Cause that means a lot to me. I hope you all are having a good day wherever you are, and I'll speak to you soon.